What happens to clothing once we stop wearing them? Every second, a truckload of clothing and textiles gets dumped or burned, and most of it barely even gets worn. In the time it took me to say that, the equivalent of 10 truckloads of clothing just got disposed of in ways that harm our planet. I've bought clothes I've only worn once before. But did you know that the fashion industry is responsible for 10% of global carbon emissions? And that number could increase by 60% by 2030. Here in Canada, we throw out over 500,000 tons of clothing every single year. That's almost 37 kilograms per person. And most of it doesn't even get recycled. Even when we donate clothing, a large portion of it can't be resold, so it gets shipped overseas or ends up in a landfill anyways. Countries like Bangladesh have become central to how fast fashion works, producing massive volumes of clothing to keep up with global demand, including the clothes that end up in our closet. Producing clothing at this scale takes a serious toll on the environment, from the water it takes to produce cotton, to the chemicals needed to dye fabric, to the energy needed to keep up with constant demand. In Bangladesh, the Burjanga River has been heavily impacted by textile production. Did you know that in 2024, over 21,000 cubic meters of toxic industrial waste, including chemical dyes, plastic trash, and sewage, were poured into the river daily? That affects water that many people rely on to live. This isn't any specific country's problem, but stems from a system built on speed and volume. But that's not the whole story. Even in the middle of this crisis, change is happening. In Bangladesh, factories are starting to reduce water use, recycle fabrics and materials, and rethink how clothing is being produced. There's now a push to have more environmentally responsible production factories. Unfortunately, sustainability isn't always simple. Progress in one area doesn't automatically fix everything. And while progress is being made environmentally, the full impact of fast fashion is still far from being solved. Because behind the clothes that we wear, there's way more to the story than just environmental impact. That is something we'll discuss in our next video, so please tune into that. So where do we, as Canadians, fit into this? Even though these issues stretch out across the globe, the choices affecting them start right here at home. So here are 4 choices that you can start making today. One of the most effective things you can do today is buy less. Do I really need that $5 t-shirt? Probably not. And it's not because clothing is bad. I love looking good in a new shirt, but because overconsumption is what drives the system. Wearing what we already own for just a little bit longer can make a bigger difference than you expect. And when we do need something new, choosing secondhand is one of the easiest ways to reduce waste and save money. This can look like going to thrift stores or even clothing swaps. This keeps clothing in use longer and out of landfills and burn piles. Sounds like a win-win to me. Taking care of our clothing so that they last longer also matters. That could look like washing your clothes in cold water, air drying them, repairing clothes instead of replacing them, all of which that can extend the life of the clothes that we already have. We can also be mindful of how often we are buying, especially from ultra-fast and cheap fashion brands. I won't say any names, but you already know who I'm talking about. This can reduce the demand for constant production, less impulse, more intention. Think of it like this. Instead of trying to buy a new jacket or sweater every year for 5 years, you can try to invest in better quality clothes that are going to last you the whole 5 years instead of buying a new one every year. So there you go. Those are 4 simple choices that you can start making today. The story of fast fashion doesn't end when we throw something away. It continues across different countries, communities, and ecosystems. But the good news is that it can and is changing, because the system that created this problem is shaped by decisions being made every single day by people like you and me.